Hi everyone, it's Ben from Trekitt. We're out here with Harry behind the camera today and faithful companion Tess, who might show up in a few little shots here and there. And we're out here in the grounds of Croft Castle on some of the National Trust land, and we're going to talk about the Fjällräven Vidda Pro wool padded jacket. A bit of a mouthful, but I assure you we will do our best to tell you everything about this jacket, all of its, how it fits, its features, why we think the jacket's so great, and where we can really see it fitting into your wardrobe. So what is the Vidda Pro wool padded? First off, for the course of this video, I'm probably just going to refer to it as the Vidda jacket because that's quite a mouthful. But the Vidda Pro wool padded jacket, it's the last time I'll say it, is a wool insulated jacket that's designed to be very protective overall because it uses Fjällräven's G1000 Eco outer material. And it's just generally a jacket that you'd use for sort of everyday outdoor activities, bushcraft, just really getting out and doing things where you need a jacket that's going to be nice and protective and also nice and abrasion resistant, potentially one that's got a lot of pockets. So this is a jacket that we'd see that you take on sort of autumn winter dog walks. I'm gesturing to Tess even though you can't see her because you're looking sort of here somewhere. Maybe doing a bit of bushcraft further into the woods, or some slightly slower paced activities. Wouldn't really see this if you were going a bit further up the mountain because there are alternative jackets that are going to be a little bit lighter, pack a little bit smaller, potentially a little bit more breathable. But this jacket is really designed for those slow paced activities where you really need that sort of fortress around you. So what's the Vidda wool jacket made from? Well, the clue really is in the name with this one. The primary insulation that Fjällräven use on this is wool from Swedish sheep. It's been ethically sourced. Fjällräven clearly looked at sheep with their fuzzy, fluffy little coats on and thought, they look really warm. Let's use some of that. So they decided to incorporate that insulation into the jacket here today. And it's a little bit body mapped. So in the main body, you've got 150 grams per meter squared. So everything covering your sort of core and back. And then in the sleeves, it drops down to 90 grams per meter squared. So you get a little bit more mobility, a little bit more movement because you don't need your arms to be quite as warm as you do your main core. So the insulation that they use, it may not sound like masses and masses of insulation, especially when you compare it to some synthetic alternatives. But trust me, because this uses wool, which is a natural fiber, this is a very warm, toasty jacket. I'm stood out here today, it's probably around 10 degrees now, and I've just got a base layer on underneath, and I'm honestly pretty toasty. We've been walking through the woods a little bit to get here, so I'm still a little bit warm from that, but this is a very warm jacket and will serve you through most of the winter, especially if you layer up a little bit underneath it, but that wool insulation really does keep you warm. Sheep are onto something. So then moving on to the outer of the jacket, Fjällräven use their G1000 Eco material over the entirety of the outer of the jacket. They even handily label it on the cuff there, just in case you forget what it is. G1000, especially the Eco variant, which Fjällräven are now using across pretty much their entire range, is a 65% recycled polyester, 35% organic cotton, which makes a really strong polycotton blend that is really abrasion resistant and can be adapted using Greenland wax to make it more or less weather resistant depending on what you're using the jacket for and where you're using it. We do have a video that offers a little bit more of an explainer on what G1000 is and why you might like it over alternative outdoor fabrics, which Harry will pop up on the screen somewhere here. So please do watch that video for a little bit more information on G1000 and why we think it's so great for an outdoor jacket like this. So what are the features of the Vidda wool padded? Well, first and foremost, I'm going to get it over and done with. I'm going to be saying pockets a lot in this section because it's got a lot of pockets, but we'll get to that little bit in a little bit of time. First and foremost, we'll start at the top and then we'll work our way down as we tend to do in these videos. So the hood is wool lined, so it's nice and cozy, and it does have a few points of adjustment both on the front and then one on the back so that you can adjust it to make it fit a little bit more head compatible because it is a fair sized hood. It's not officially helmet compatible or anything like that because Fjällräven don't really see you wearing a helmet with this jacket, but it is a fair sized hood so you can get it on over the top of a woolly hat like I've got today to keep my ears warm. I don't quite need the hood up, it's not that cold, but you know, I know that I can get that hood up over the top of my hat if I need to. Moving on down, you get a 2A YKK zip, which then has poppers over the front of it. And this is not just a styling thing from Fjällräven, even though they're really nice little brass Fox logo poppers. It's a little bit of redundancy built into the jacket so that this jacket will carry on performing even if, for example, a zip fails, you lose a few teeth from it, things like that, you can still popper up the jacket and go until you get the chance to repair the jacket. It's just something that Fjällräven use across their range of products to ensure that the jackets will last a little bit longer, you know, and they're much easier to repair than some sort of membraned alternatives. Because if you were to tear the outer fabric of this jacket, you can just stitch it up, wax over the top of it, and away you go. Whereas with a membrane jacket, you tear it, you've got to get a Gore-Tex patch in it, and the fix isn't necessarily going to be quite as permanent. Moving on, before we talk about all those pockets that I mentioned before, we will discuss a few of the other features. So you've got poppet adjusters on the end of the sleeves, so you can seal in a little bit more warmth that way and dial in the fit a little bit more. And then you do have adjusters on the bottom hem, so you can cinch in. I've cinched in a little bit today because this jacket is fairly roomy, so we've cinched in a little bit, just help seal in a little bit of warmth there. Now on to the main event of this jacket. We'll talk about the pockets, and I am going to keep saying pockets quite a lot, I'm sorry. So at last count, there are 8 total pockets on this one. You could argue that there are technically 9 because there's one pocket inside a pocket. Told you I'd say it a lot. You might not be able to see all of them right now, but I will point them all out. So you've got 4 big dump pockets that have got poppers on them. So these ones are just really nice for stashing big things in, so you get a map, a compass, that sort of thing in there. Behind the top 2 on the chest, you might be able to see these little leather tabs here. You do have zipped pockets, sort of Napoleon style, that sit in line with the poppered ones. So just in this one, I've got some green and wax, which you can use to obviously adjust the weather resistance of this jacket, but we're not going to need to do that today. So that's a total of 6 so far. This pocket does have, which is the secret 9th pocket, does have a little security stretch mesh pocket on the inside. So perfect for stashing your keys or other valuables in, so it's not rattling around. And then moving down, you do have 2 zipped hand pockets here. The other nice thing about these particular zipped hand pockets here are that they are wool lined. So you get a nice coziness from the wool. It's the same wool lining that they've used in the hood as well. So it's really nice and comfortable and keeps your hands warm, especially when you're out walking and it's a little bit windier. It just stops that wind penetrating through, and it means it's nice and comfortable. So moving on to how the jacket fits. As I'm sure you all know by now, if you don't, I'm going to remind you anyway. I am 6'3" and I've got about a 44-inch chest. So this is a size large, which I'd normally take in most outdoor jackets. Fjällräven's sizing is a little bit different to some of the competition, and it does vary depending on the style of jacket that you're wearing. So this is a fairly roomy fit. Honestly, I come up slightly between sizes, so ideally I'd need like an extra medium in this particular jacket for sort of an optimal fit for me. But that's also dependent on what layers I'm wearing underneath. So today I am just wearing a base layer underneath it because it's not super cold. If I was wearing a mid layer underneath as well, then this jacket would fill out and fit a little bit better, because ideally I'd like a little bit less room in this jacket than I have here. I have cinched in the bottom hem just so that it seals in a little bit of warmth and is a little bit more comfortable that way. But there is still a little bit of room in this jacket. Part of that is down to it being quite a square cut and it being in more of a comfort fit from Fjällräven, which lends itself really well to being a jacket that you'll wear for more casual outdoor pursuits or something that you're going to be a little bit more static in. Because if you're moving a little bit quicker in this jacket, you'll probably find that the bit of excess material in it might get a little bit annoying, or it will just generally get in the way a little bit. That's not to say that this jacket is by any means uncomfortable, and for me personally, the length of the jacket is actually really nice. I usually struggle because I've got a long torso with jackets coming up a little bit short. This definitely isn't. It's nice and long, so you get a nice feeling of protection. If you've got a more average torso, you might feel it fits a little bit more like almost like a short parka, but it just gives an overall feeling of protection, and it just feels really cozy when it's on. When it comes to layering, it should be fairly obvious where this jacket sits. It is intended by Fjällräven to be your outer layer, so that's why they've given it that bit of extra room in the fit that I discussed in the previous section, just to allow you to layer up underneath it. The only time that you'd really want anything other than this jacket and potentially put something over the top, which we wouldn't really recommend, is if it was really sort of wet and horrible out, because this jacket, while it is highly weather resistant, is not fully wind and waterproof. But on those days, you may be better suited to leaving this jacket behind, having a mid layer, and then something that is membrane, so say a Gore-Tex outer shell, or Other membranes are also available, of course, but that might lead you to a different style of layering for different activities. Most of the time you'll be fine in this, even if you do get caught out in the rain, because it will stand up to a fair amount, especially if you do wax it up a little bit more across the shoulders and down the sleeves and across the back a little bit more, and then it will dry very quickly. But you're really going to be using this potentially under a little bit more cover, so say further into the trees, a little bit more in the tree line than out in the open where a Gore-Tex jacket might be a little bit more suitable. So that's the Fjällräven Vidda Pro wool padded jacket. There you go. It really is a nice protective outer layer that's designed for slightly more casual pursuits or for your bushcraft and things like that, because you've got all of these pockets. You can store all kinds of things in them. If you'd like to learn more about this particular jacket and shop the rest of the Fjällräven range, we've got this in another colour. I think we do it in black. Harry will pop a link up on the screen now where you can find out a little bit more information about the Vidda Pro wool padded jacket. Other than that, I think that's everything from me, so I will see you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Take care.